Hi guys, this is Jody. This is your entry to practice. I'm going to go through this pretty fast. You're going to have the slides with the websites to go back and look at. I'm not going to click through the websites because it'll be very time consuming. So just make sure that you're kind of stopping this presentation, going to the websites because it's going to be easier for you to understand. The objectives really for this presentation is just to talk briefly about the NCLEX, how to register for the NCLEX, and how to become licensed in New York State. Really, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about the test plan, but in general, when we look at discussing implications of computer adaptive testing, we've talked about it quite a bit, and if you review the test plan and go to the NCSBN website, it's going to give you all the information you need about the NCLEX and what to expect. This is the website. Definitely go to www.ncsbn.org. This is going to have the information that you need for your NCLEX exam. This is the National Council for the State Boards of Nursing. It is the governing body that develops the questions, delivers the licensing exam. Every state requires the same pass level. Unfortunately, New York State is not a compact state, so if you license in New York and decide to move to another state to practice, you're going to have to apply for licensure through their governing body. However, that does not mean that you're going to have to sit for another NCLEX exam. Okay, it's basically just a process of paying some money, and if they have any additional information that they want you to review, you can do that. Every state's going to be a little bit different. Some states are really easy to get a license through, and some may make you jump through a few more hoops. Okay, the NCLEX test plan, it's revised every 3 years. So this current exam has been delivered since April of 2023. That was the first time they utilized the next gen questions. Okay, this regulates entry into practice. This really is the goal of it is really to test your critical thinking and to ensure you're safe for practice. Okay, it is based on the blueprint developed by NCSBN. And the questions assess, again, your ability to critically think to make sure that you're safe. If you go to this website here, this will show you the test plan, okay? Clinical judgment model is something you guys should have heard about throughout this program. It's really the nursing process, so it's just another way to do the ADPI, right? Which is the assess, diagnose, plan, implement, and evaluate. It's just another way of saying it. Recognizing cues, that's assess, analyzing and prioritizing, that's your diagnosis, generating solutions and taking actions, that's your planning and implementation, and then again, evaluating. 85 to 150 questions are on the NCLEX, 15 are unscored. Everybody will get 3 case studies with 6 questions each. That is 18 total case study questions. Out of the remaining questions, 10% are the bow tie or trend. And you can find the bow tie questions on ATI. You will definitely see some of these as you go through and practice for that predictor exam, and also for the other ATI Med-Surg exam, which I would definitely, after you guys test this week, jump in and start practicing for your Med-Surg ATI. Distribution of content, you can find this when you go to the NCSBN website. It will give you more information of what to expect under each category. So it'll give you some examples of what might be information they're looking for safe and effective care. And for each section, they'll give you an example of a question. So definitely you want to go to NCSBN, you want to go to the test plans, you want to go through and look at any information that has to do with the NCLEX. The NCLEX blueprint is really, really going to help you. So I think if you go to the NCSBN website, and I can show you that towards the end, you're going to have so much information there to look at. Okay, there is a candidate bulletin. If you go to this website, it is basically an information flyer, which is going to have a lot of information for you and those frequently asked questions that they receive. Steps from the information flyer are going to review how to apply for licensure, how to pay your exam fee, and it's going to talk a little bit through the process of what you need to do on exam day and how you need to arrive. So essentially, I will tell you a little bit more about that as we get to the end. So what you can do right now as the candidate is you can apply for licensure. So with NCSBN, you can apply for your New York State license, and then you can register and pay for the NCLEX exam through Pearson VUE. The only thing you cannot do right now is schedule your exam. Once you pay these fees, you have 365 days to take the exam. So if you were to fail this semester and have to retake next semester, you are still within that time window of graduating in May and still being able to take your exam. So you would be paid for. I will leave that up to you, but definitely about 30 days prior to graduation, you're going to want to start doing this stuff so that when you do get your authorization to test, you are ready to schedule your exam. Okay, and you'll be all set. Because remember, I've said before, you want to graduate and you want to take your NCLEX as soon as possible. Okay, so last week in class, you guys filled out the licensing form. If you have not filled that out yet, it should be in your mailbox. You need to fill this out and get this to Sandy ASAP. Okay, this goes across the street at GCC into the administrative offices. And as soon as you guys graduate in December, we let them know. Literally, as soon as we have your final exam and we know what your final grade is, we let Sandy know, who then lets them know across the street that you guys have successfully graduated from this program. And then what happens is they send all of that information that you provided on the licensing form to New York State. New York State then looks at that, says that yes, you graduated from an accredited program, and then they send you your authorization to test. It takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks after graduation. Hopefully it'll be closer to that 2 weeks so that you guys can schedule your exam in January as soon as you possibly can. Okay? Step 1 is your application process. You want to, about 30 days before graduation, apply for your licensure from New York State or whatever state you are going to decide that you want to license through. Okay? If you click on this website right here, or you guys can type it in, you'll have the slides to be able to do this. But if you click on this website, it is going to take you right to the expedited application. And that is going to require your social security number, and you'll want to have a credit card ready for that, okay? It should say Office of the Professions, and it should say expedited form, okay? You want to make sure it says this. And then you don't want to print it out and send it in. You want to do it online, okay? So that's step 1. Before you move into step 2, know that if you have been convicted of a crime, you may need some supplemental documentation stating that you are of good character, okay? And we have had this in the past, so that's just something that you need to know about. If you have testing accommodations, please don't reach out to me later on. I really don't know a lot about the accommodations process through NCLEX, but they do across the street in the accommodations office. So you need to work with GCC and the accommodations office to ensure that you can get your accommodations for the NCLEX exam, okay? And then when you go to schedule your exam, you're going to want to call. You're not going to want to do it online because you want to make sure that they can meet your accommodations, and then when you go to schedule it, you want to make sure that the Pearson VUE site can meet your accommodations. Cost for licensing in New York State is $143, unless that has changed in the last few months. And then cost for your testing through Pearson VUE is $200. So altogether for your license and your NCLEX exam, it's going to be right around $343, okay? This Form 5 New York State Limited Permit, you guys can Google this. If your employer says that they want you to get a limited permit after you graduate in order to work as a graduate nurse until you get your license, this is good for 90 days, and it costs $35. So you can go ahead and look up the permit online, and then if you need any additional information, you'll want to reach out to Deb Penoyer, not me, because once the end of the semester hits, I am off contract, okay? Step 2 in the process is registering for your NCLEX exam. You do this with Pearson VUE. Okay, this is the website right here that you would go through. And again, this costs $200. So you can register and pay for the exam. You just cannot schedule it until you get your authorization to test, which you'll get about 2 to 4 weeks after you graduate from GCC. Okay. If you need to schedule your exam or have any questions afterwards, this is the phone number for NCLEX Candidate Services. Okay. Again, if you require accommodations, please work with the accommodations office across the street. And then you will need to do a little bit more digging through NCSBN and Pearson VUE to ensure that they can meet your accommodations at the site. And nobody has accommodations that I think would be difficult to meet. You just want to make sure that they can accommodate your specific accommodations. Okay, important. So your name must exactly match the ID you present at the test center. Also, make sure it's not expired. So if you have your driver's license and it is not in, say, your married name, or you got divorced and you changed your name back and you're licensing in a different name than what your license said, you are going to have to provide legal documentation of that legal name. Okay, if your ID doesn't match, and that may be something you want to reach out to them prior to testing to make sure that you have everything that you need. Okay. When you need our education program code in the midst of going through registration process, it's here. Okay, and you will have these slides with this information. You're going to want your current telephone, your current mailing address, and the email that you check the most often. Don't use an email. I don't know about you guys, but I have so many different emails. And I have one that every once in a while people will message me things, and it'll be months before I see it because it's not one that I check very often. So just make sure that whatever email you provide on that licensing form that you filled out is the one that you're checking, because that's where your authorization to test is going to go. Okay. Now you have applied and you've registered. Okay. Questions about the status of your applications can be sent to this email address here. This is Office of the Professions, or that is the phone number that you can call. Okay. Not to Sandy, not to me after you go through that process. If it's specific to your application and registering through NCSBN or Pearson VUE or Office of the Profession, whatever you're going through, you need to go through them. Okay. The authorization to test comes after graduation. Okay. You had to have filled out that licensing form that most of you did last week. If you did not do it, it'll be in your mailbox. You need to get that in ASAP, because that is the form that will get you your authorization to test. Okay. So you cannot schedule your exam until you have this. And when you get that authorization to test, it's going to give you about a 90-day period of when you need to test. Okay. You have to test within that period of time. Let's see. The ATT will contain instructions of how to schedule your exam, so don't lose it. Okay, you need to bring it to the exam, or actually you don't need to bring it to the exam, but I would just in case. Okay, it does contain your authorization number, your candidate ID number, and it does have an expiration date, so you want to test within the validity dates. Okay, schedule your exam immediately upon receipt and as soon as you possibly can. Okay, you guys are prepped and ready to go after you graduate from this program. If you think you're going to take the holiday time and then you're going to take several months and then maybe test over the summer, your percentage rate of passing goes down quite a bit. Okay, we've seen the stats on that. People who think they're going to wait and they're going to study generally don't. You are prepped and ready to go after you graduate this program. So you want to take it as soon as you possibly can. All right. You must schedule your exam within the dates. We've talked about that. Plan for the testing session to be about 5 hours. Okay. It could be much less than that, but you want to plan for about that amount of time. Okay. Let's see. Again, you can schedule online, but if you need those accommodations, you're going to need to call. Let's see. You will get a confirmation sent by email with your appointment date, times, and directions to the center. Make sure you're prepping for that. Know where your testing center is going to be. Know how long it's going to take you to be there. We're going to be in the middle of winter, so plan accordingly when you're planning to get there, because you may have some weather. Let's see. If you have a schedule change or you get sick, you need to notify them 1 full business day prior to the exam. Okay? Monday tests must be changed on Friday. Okay? If you call on Saturday or Sunday and leave a message, it's not going to be considered notice. And you're going to forfeit that money, that $200 to take your exam. Okay? Again, method, you can schedule the exam, phone or internet. Just make sure that if you're getting sick, feeling sick. I did have a student who took the exam with COVID and she failed, and she outright called me and said, I know I failed because I was sick. So just keep that in mind, okay? You want to make sure prior to your scheduled exam, you're taking care of yourself, getting good sleep, eating well, all that good stuff so that you can get through that exam. Testing sites in every state are administered by Pearson VUE. Pearson VUE will have the testing locations so that you can look at those. And know too, when you go into the site, that it's not going to be everybody isn't in there taking the nursing exam, because they deliver all sorts of licensing exams. So you can be testing with people licensing for other professions. Again, think about when you want to take it. Ideally, it's 4 weeks after graduation. I'll push that out to 6. But you really want to take it as soon as you possibly can. So if you get that authorization to test, you want to take the first available testing spot. That time frame leaves enough time to study, but if you wait longer, you're going to lose retention of that material. You will take this ATI Live Review class that's already scheduled for you guys. I don't know the dates off the top of my head. You do want to attend that. So what you'll do when you go into that ATI Live Review session is you're going to take your ATI Predictor report. So remember, for 222, you're taking the ATI Predictor after Capstone. It's the Wednesday after Capstone ends. So if I'm trying to think about the date of that, I think off the top of my head it's December 4th, but it's whatever the Wednesday is of that week. That is a 4-hour exam. It mimics the NCLEX, okay? So you are going to get a report from that that's going to tell you where you should do some focused review. You'll take that to ATI Live Review and they will talk about that, okay? You want to look at the test plan on the NCSBN website for clues on what to study. Okay, it's going to give you some information there. And licensing after graduation should be your first priority. Again, people have said in the past, I'm going to wait because I'm going to take all this time to study. You won't. You won't. It's in our nature that we won't, okay? Or just because we spend that extra time studying doesn't mean that it's actually productive studying. So you guys are well prepped after graduation. So now it's exam day. You guys have applied for your license through your state. Most of you is going to be New York State, so you've gone through the Office of Professions for New York State. You've paid the money to apply for your license, and you've also registered for your NCLEX exam. You've received your authorization to test, and then you've either gone online or called to schedule your exam with Pearson VUE. So now it's exam day, okay? You must have a valid ID that is not expired. So check your licenses now to make sure they're not expired. Okay, they should also have your signature on them. If you have a passport, you can utilize your passport. Your ID must be printed and signed in English. If there is no signature on it, you'll need to bring a secondary ID. Okay. Your first and last names on the ID must match your authorization to test. Okay, if there is anything off on that, you are going to need to get in touch with them at Pearson VUE to find out any additional documentation that you'll need to bring. Okay, if your ID is clipped, perforated, cracked, it's going to be considered invalid. Okay, so if you need to get a new license, do that now. Any name discrepancies must have legal name change documentation. For example, your marriage license, and I had to do that. Nothing is allowed in the testing rooms. There are lockers available. I know it is going to be winter. I would plan not to wear anything crazy in your hair, so no clips, nothing like that. You know, a rubber band is fine, but don't put anything fancy in your hair. If you are going to leave things in your car, like I would bring the minimum amount with you, okay? If you have a purse, I would lock it in your trunk. Okay, things have been known to be stolen out of cars at testing site locations, right? So we want to make sure, if you're going to leave anything in the car, leave it in your trunk. But if you must, there are lockers available. Bring the minimal amount with you, okay? No large jewelry, no hats, no scarves. Anything you can leave in the car is great because they're not going to be huge lockers. They do use biometrics, which is palm vein technology, very similar to the fingerprinting they do at Disney World, if you guys are at all familiar with that. I certainly am. But if you want information on that, this is the website that you can go to that'll give you more information on that. How much time do you have? You have 5 hours max. That includes 2 optional 10-minute breaks and any unscheduled breaks. Okay? Number of questions, we talked about this. Number of questions is not an indicator of pass or fail. So if you get 85 questions and it shuts off, mostly it's going to be that you did well enough that they determined an 85, or it could be that you did so horribly bad that it turned off. So, and it also, if you go to 150 items, you could still have passed, okay? So it's really not an indicator. It will shut off automatically when either 5 hours is reached or 150 questions have been answered, or at least 85 questions have been answered at the standard competency pass or below the fail rate. Okay, it is scored as pass or fail. You will never know how many questions you got right or wrong. Getting your results, okay? The scores are calculated by Pearson VUE and available to the Board of Nursing in about 12 to 24 hours. Okay, you will be notified in writing by the Board of Nursing in approximately 1 month. I know you guys are not going to want to wait 1 month. Do not call the Board of Nursing. Okay, they cannot release the information over the phone. You can go to the Office of the Professions and go to Registered Nurse, and you can search for your name. And if you're licensed, it will show up with your license number. Okay, there is a way that you can kind of do a cheat that way. If you guys are already licensed as LPNs, you probably know how to do that. Okay. Once you are licensed, you are going to be listed in the Office of the Professions under Registered Nursing, and then you can search for a license under your name, and it'll be there, okay? NCLEX exam retake policy is 45 days between the exams. So if you fail the first exam, you have to wait 45 days before you take a second one. Can't wait. You can get quick results through Pearson VUE for a small fee. You get unofficial results in 2 days. And you can access via internet at www.pearsonvue.com/NCLEX. That'll give you more information. So I think it's somewhere around $7. But I don't know for sure, but you can get expedited. There's also a way that students have tried to re-register for the exam and it won't let them. So there's little cheats that you can do. There's lots of information at this website here. Make sure to read the following sections before the exam, exam day, and after the exam. This will include how to get those unofficial results. Okay, and it will answer some of your frequently asked questions. The 8 steps of NCLEX. This is a nice summary in before the exam section, so you can check out this website here. And again, you guys will have these slides. ATI review class. Okay, this is already scheduled. This is right after your pinning ceremony, not long after your pinning ceremony. The dates, I think Rebecca has them in the syllabus for 212. This will go over those ATI predictor results. This is covered with your ATI package, so you guys don't have to pay anything additional for this. This is a good value because other places like University of Rochester, they charge $350 for this. Okay, if you do this review class and you fail your NCLEX, they will pay for tutoring for you and they will go through a tutoring process. So definitely worth it to go, and that's how confident they are that you guys are going to pass if you come to this ATI live review. Okay, let's see. Checklist. Here are your websites. Apply for licensure with New York State. This is Office of the Professions. Okay, register for your NCLEX. This is your Pearson VUE. The NCSBN website I don't have here, but that gives you all the information on the NCLEX exam. Don't pay attention to this after May 31st, okay, because you guys will have a date in December. It's generally your official graduation date is the end of December, but keep your eyes on announcements because Deb may give us an earlier date that would be closer to your pinning date, okay. Wait to receive your authorization to test via your email. That was the email you guys provided on your licensing form. And then once you get your authorization to test, you're going to schedule your exam with Pearson VUE. Now, we've gone through all those processes. You know how to get licensed through New York State. You know how to take your Pearson or how to schedule your Pearson, your NCLEX exam through Pearson VUE. Now you're ready. You have to go into this test in the best state possible. So again, if you have a test and you have to cancel because you're sick, you have to give them a full business day notice, okay? This means that when you schedule it, you have to know that you have to go into this test in the best state possible. You want to rest, avoid crowds, avoid people who are sick, all that good stuff. Eat well, sleep well, go in a good mental state, okay? You guys have to engage those coping mechanisms and that stress reduction strategies. I can't stress that enough. When I have had the very few students who fail this exam over the years that I've been here, okay, our pass rate is very high. The majority of students are going to pass the first time. When I have heard from students who have failed, it is generally because they were sick going into the exam or their anxiety was so bad that they could not think straight. You guys have to find a way to engage those coping mechanisms and those stress reducing strategies, okay? Very, very, very important. Eat well, rest, prepare. You are going to be in a better mental state if you do those things. Let me go back for a minute. Let me just find some of these websites for you. So I can kind of show you what this looks like if you go into NCSBN. Again, NCSBN, sorry if I can kind of change this. I'm just going to move this so you can see more of this website. Okay, well, we'll do that. NCSBN is really all NCLEX information, what you need, how to register for your NCLEX, what to do for exam day, how to prepare. It's going to have the test plan. It's going to give you sample questions. There is a lot of information on NCSBN, okay, when you get to that website. When you go into Pearson VUE is going to have the information on testing locations and where you will actually take the exam. And then Office of the Professions, when you saw that website, that is where, and I'm not going to go back just because I will do it this way, just so you guys can kind of see this. So you go to Office of the Professions. This is where you will apply to be a nurse in New York State. And I apologize that you guys can't see this entire screen. But you can verify licensing, you can renew a registration, so this is where you would renew, but you're also going to apply for your license through New York State. I had told you guys where you can kind of cheat and look for your license after you graduate. This one would be a free cheat, but it will cause you anxiety if you go in here and you can't find it, right? So here you can look by licensee name and the profession, which would be registered nurse. Okay, and then I would put in, let's see, my name. Wouldn't that be funny if I did this and I wasn't in here and you'd be like, oh my God, she doesn't have a license or her license is expired. And then it will bring up the information that is there. So it'll say in here, current as of October 15th. So I have a license number, okay, and it tells when my license is active since. So you could go in here to the verification and look up your name and see if you're there. But you have all of the websites are in the slides. Everything is there for you. I would start looking at this stuff when you have some time in Capstone. Really, you guys are at the time when we're in October. Let's see, you are going to be taking your exam in January. So really, as we get, into Capstone, that is the time that I would say look at registering for your license through New York State and pay that fee, which is the $143, and I would register for Pearson VUE, which is the $200. You can do all of that stuff. Register for your exam, apply for your license, and then all you need to do when you get your authorization to test after graduation is schedule your exam. And so that's it, guys. I'm not going to jump into all of these websites, but definitely take the time, go through, look at the stuff. If you have any questions in regards to this presentation, please let me know. Any questions in regards to accommodations, please work with the accommodations office at GCC. And then, again, look at some of these websites. It's going to answer a lot of questions for you. Okay, that's it. Thank you.